Hello and welcome to Friday's Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Good to have you with us tonight. Here's what's on the programme.
Delayed until the summer, Greater Manchester's controversial clean air zone has been postponed. So what happens next?
What that creates is time for us to get this right, to work jointly with the government. So by the middle of the year, we bring forward a very different scheme.
On World Cancer Day, two stories, two very different outcomes. We talk to an expert to see how cancer services are coping as we emerge from the COVID pandemic.
Up for the Cup, I'll be live at Old Trafford as Manchester United kick off a busy weekend of FA Cup action.
Crisis? What crisis? Liverpool 80s band China Crisis on 40 years of great music.
And we're looking for signs of spring this weekend. Hopefully there'll be a bit of sunshine in the mix. The forecast is coming up.
Well, we've talked about it all week. Now, Greater Manchester's controversial clean air zone has been postponed.
It follows protests and a war of words between Mayor Andy Burnham and the Prime Minister over plans to charge some drivers up to £60 a day.
The scheme aims to lower exhaust emissions from vans, minibuses, taxis and coaches. Taxi drivers staged a go-slow protest outside the Mayor's offices yesterday, warning they faced financial ruin.
New plans will now be submitted in July and the government's insisting the clean air zone must be in place by 2026.
Our reporter Tim Scott's in Manchester. So Tim, is the clean air zone dead or just delayed?
Well, Gamal, according to what we've heard today, the clean air zone for Greater Manchester is still very much alive, but the start date, which would have been May this year, has been scrapped. The plans have gone back to the drawing board, and it's now up to the combined authority and the government to come up with Clean Air Zone Mark II. Earlier, Mayor Andy Burnham told me that one of the main problems with the original scheme was that 2024 end date for reducing harmful emissions.
What's happened today is that the straitjacket that Greater Manchester was in with this date of 2024, that's been taken off. And what that creates is time for us to get this right, to work jointly with the government. So by the middle of the year, we bring forward a very different scheme. And that will allow us to clean up the air in a longer time frame and at the same time protect the jobs, the livelihoods, the businesses of our residents.
And Andy Burnham also told me that he did recognise that things have become very expensive and very difficult for drivers of vehicles who were trying to adapt them to reduce those harmful emissions.
And Tim, there have been many objections to the clean air zone. What do those opposed to it say tonight?
Yes, well, we saw those taxi drivers protesting outside the GMC building just behind me earlier this week, Elaine. One campaigner I spoke to today says he's just not impressed with today's announcement.
It's so important if patients have got some.
So the news we've heard today, we see as just being a delaying tactic to go after the elections. It's not about affordability, it's about product acceptance or approval by the councils. Every single vehicle can be retrofit. What we want to see is an end to the charging zone, not the clean air zone.
So, despite the delay to the clean air zone, it seems there's still a long way to go to convince many that it's fair and workable. We can expect news of what the new scheme will look like come July. Back to you.
Yeah, the twists and turns continue. OK, Tim, thank you.
Next, it's World Cancer Day, and tonight we have two stories with two very different outcomes.
Yeah, it is a sad fact that our region has some of the worst cancer diagnosis and survival rates in the country.
Just one sobering statistic, lung cancer in Merseyside is a massive 75% higher than the national average.
But there is some good news. Much of the pioneering treatments to fight cancer are being developed right here in the northwest.
Our correspondent Mel Barham report starts with a little boy from Stockport who made medical history.
4-year-old Teddy is a happy and healthy little boy, but when he was just 18 months old, he was diagnosed with a rare brain tumour.
You never expect to be given the news that we were given, and it really didn't sink in for days, weeks.
We filmed Teddy back in 2019 as he became the youngest person in the UK to be treated using pioneering proton beam therapy here in Manchester. It's a specialist form of radiotherapy that targets cancers very precisely, increasing success rates and reducing side effects. The centre here at the Christie was the first in the country to offer it on the NHS, and 3 years on, it's a milestone anniversary with a happy ending for Teddy.
Recovery-wise, he bounced back incredibly quickly and started walking, obviously later than he should have done, but now he's developing perfectly like a normal 4-year-old.
With conventional radiotherapy, we didn't really feel it was safe to give the youngest children radiotherapy. So what proton therapy has enabled is some of the younger children who previously would not have been able to have radiotherapy and to therefore have a better chance of cure.
But while the North West is leading the way in treatments for cancer, the picture across the region when it comes to the disease is alarming. The incidence of certain cancers here way above the national average.
She was the most supportive wife, mum, friend. She was just amazing, really.
Deb Scanlon died in December, just a week before Christmas. The 48-year-old mum of two had been diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer in May 2020.
I can remember it really clearly because we were deep into lockdown. Debbie had to go into the appointment on her own, so I was sitting in the car with the kids outside, and I could see her walking back to the car and I could tell she was upset. She just said to me that they've found a growth and they think it's cancer.
Debs had delayed going to the doctors, believing her symptoms were linked to her endometriosis. By the time she was diagnosed, it was too late.
If she'd have gone to the doctors sooner, even thinking it was the endometriosis, would it have been found and been in a more manageable stage? But we certainly didn't think that it was her time.
Tonight, Deb's family and friends are taking part in the Clatterbridge Glow Green Night Walk, a sponsored 8-kilometre route around Liverpool to raise awareness of cancer and its potentially devastating effects.
If we can help another family avoid what we've been through, and by spreading the awareness of bowel cancer specifically and cancer in general, that's what we're doing it for.
Russ says Deb's never lost her positivity, and despite her story, tonight he's hoping to spread that hope to others. Mel Barham, ITV News, Warrington.
Heartbreaking for that family, and as Russ said in Mel's report, he's taking part in a walk tonight to raise money for the Clatterbridge Cancer Charity. And there's lots more information on that on our website right now. That's itv.com/Granada.
Well, the Health Secretary has set out his 10-year vision to improve cancer prevention and diagnosis, with plans for screening centres in shopping centres and football stadiums.
Well, earlier we spoke to Susanna Penny, who's a consultant surgeon working for the Greater Manchester Cancer Alliance, which is a group of cancer specialists, and asked her how worried she was about the backlog in cancer cases.
It's so important if patients have got symptoms that they are worried about or suggestive of cancer, that they come out and they see their GPs, they see people out in primary care, because there are people like me in a hospital waiting to see them, to give them the diagnosis and the treatment that we need. And we're absolutely open for business and ready for people to come forward. And that's so important at this time.
I can imagine it's very difficult for you and your colleagues to accept when you have a patient, the prognosis isn't good because their diagnosis came in at such a late stage.
I think at the beginning of the pandemic, everybody was really concerned that people were not presenting. People were very frightened, fearful of what might happen. We've proved time and time again that we can keep people safe in hospital for treatment for cancer. And I'm pleased to say that now we are treating more people than we have ever treated before. That's with surgery. I'm operating regularly. with chemotherapy, with radiotherapy, with new treatments, and we really are getting on. And actually the number of people now coming forward with their symptoms is, it's fantastic to see these people, but there are still more people out there who must have symptoms who need to come forward, and we're waiting for them.
Now, we know early diagnosis is key, but many people have contacted us to say they still can't get that GP's appointment. Is that a concern for you?
So we understand the challenges and the frustration and, how people must feel trying to get access to see the GP. The GPs in this city, in the region of Manchester, are absolutely committed to seeing patients and getting them through the system. So it's really frustrating and upsetting for patients. You've got to try, you've got to persist. It's so important.
Now, there's talk of a cancer vaccine. We saw scientists coming together so quickly to fight COVID. Are you optimistic this can be done for cancer?
So there are lots of new treatments on the horizon for cancer, vaccines being just one of them. One of the big things is about personalising cancer care, making people get individualised treatment based around their tumour, around their genetics, about what it means to them, limiting their side effects and getting them a really high cure rate. So protons, which we've seen earlier, vaccines, all those things in trials, clinical trials are so important, but there are lots of new things on the horizon that will help us.
And as you say, we've come a long way when it comes to the treatments of cancer, but the North West still has some of the highest cancer rates in the country. The government has announced a 10-year plan. Do you think we can wait that long?
If you go back to the 1970s, so sort of 30 years ago, if you got cancer, your average life expectancy was probably about 1 year. If you get cancer today, your average, over 75% of people will live longer than 10 years, and many of them will be cured. And with the treatments that we've just talked about that will come on the horizon in the next 5 to 10 years, I absolutely believe that we can get more people cured of their cancer and get them good quality life for a long time.
On that positive note, Susanna Penny, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
And Susanna is on call tonight. Her great work continues. To other news now, and 3 men are being questioned on suspicion of murder and rape after the death of a woman in Bury. Emergency services were called to a house on Rutland Drive on Tuesday. The woman, who's 36, was taken to hospital where she was pronounced dead. Greater Manchester Police say the incident's been referred to the police watchdog, the IOPC.
The National Diversity Awards are taking place at Liverpool's Anglican Cathedral later. They celebrate individuals and organisations from various backgrounds who've changed people's lives. 2 nominees representing our region say they're very proud to be recognised. Amira Patel from Bolton, who runs a walking group for Muslim women, and 19-year-old Dean Leake, a campaigner who uses a range of platforms to raise awareness, tackle stigma and challenge stereotypes.
I knew that I needed to create a space for these women so they have a place where they can feel comfortable, where they can go out in their headscarves and they won't feel like, am I going to get judged, am I going to get an attack, or are people going to look at me really? Because these things do happen.
There's been a lot of talk recently as well about towns feeling left behind, and I think being from Knowsley specifically and the area of Stockbridge Village as well, which has been known for its deprivation in the past, I think I see that firsthand, and I've seen that throughout my life, and I think I want to make a difference to that.
And there was one brave bee out in the park in Croxteth this week, but will it be the weather for getting out and about this weekend? Well, the full forecast is coming up.
OK, on to sport now, and a big night at Old Trafford. Chris.
Yeah, it's been a while since they last lifted the FA Cup. In fact, it's been a long 5 years since Manchester United won anything. So the FA Cup could be higher on their list of priorities this year. That could be bad news for Middlesbrough, who are at Old Trafford tonight. So too is David Chisnall. David, a difficult week for United after Mason Greenwood's arrest. They could do with a routine win tonight, United.
Yes, absolutely, Chris. Plenty to deal with both on and off the pitch for Ralph Rangnick since he became interim manager here at Manchester United. Tonight, though, his focus will be fully on Middlesbrough and their FA Cup 4th round tie here at Old Trafford. You'd probably say this is a competition that they can only really win this year. When you look at the Premier League and the Champions League, that will be difficult. I'm delighted to say as well, we're joined by a man who knows all about winning this competition. Lou Macari was a key player for United back when they won it in 1977. His deflected shot that helped them beat Liverpool, walk up those steps at the old Wembley and lift the famous trophy. Lou, great days, great memories those. I mentioned it before, just how important is the FA Cup to United this season?
The FA Cup should be important to every football club, but unfortunately, for some reason, in the last number of years, we've devalued the greatest club cup competition in the world. It's full of surprises every year. You get the upsets that no one imagines could happen, and you get a team sometimes going to Wembley who never thought they'd get anywhere near it. And for players, and I was obviously a player back in the 70s, to be involved in any cup competition at Wembley is fantastic. I was there 3 times in 4 years. Unfortunately lost twice and won once, but it's still fantastic competition.
Ralph Rangnick, he's been in charge for 10 games now here. Won 6, drawn 3, lost 1. Football's not been great at times. Assess his time in charge.
Well, he's finding his feet, and it takes a while to find your feet. I think it's fair to say, since Sir Alex, this has not been an easy club to manage. I never thought it would be, because we had the greatest manager ever in Sir Alex, and those that have come along haven't really done what everyone expected them to do. New manager in place now, and everyone is hoping and praying that, and starting tonight, that he can get a step nearer Wembley, get the supporters back to Wembley, which they are so used to here at Old Trafford. They've been to Wembley that many times in years gone by, they think they're going to go there every year. But it's a tough job for any manager, and it's proved a little bit difficult for him up to now for a number of reasons.
OK, Lou, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We'll see how his Manchester United side get on this evening. Well, ahead of kick-off, a poignant moment. A wreath will be laid to honour the 64th anniversary of the Munich air disaster. Players will also be wearing black armbands. In his programme notes, Ralph Rangnick says he's always admired how the club pays tribute every year. He hopes his team can mark the occasion with a win.
Well, the FA Cup also pits Wigan against Stoke and Everton against Brentford, while Pep Guardiola's Premier League leaders will face the team at the top of the Championship. Fulham will head to the Etihad Stadium tomorrow as City return from their winter break, fresh from signing a new striker. Argentine Julian Alvarez cost City £14 million, but will stay at River Plate until the summer. Pep, though, says that's perfect timing.
He's a player that could be already with us right now, but we have enough players in that position. The best is to stay in River Plate, he developed incredible well the last years. I am personally, and we are really pleased to have this talent player, a young player, for the next years.
Well, meanwhile, City's women have clinched their place in the League Cup final. Last night, they beat Tottenham 3-0 to set up a clash with Chelsea in next month's final. City will take some stopping. They are unbeaten in all competitions since November.
"40 years, where has that gone?" Like that.
Honestly, you're on stage and you're playing. It's timeless. That's the magic thing about it. But when we see photos of ourselves on stage, you're looking going, "Well, what's my dad doing on stage? Well, what's he doing? What's Ed's dad doing on there?" Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, that's not what you're thinking, are you, when you're on stage? It's just you're in the music, and the music is eternally young.
And did you ever think that you'd be here playing your 40th anniversary gig at the film?
Not in a million years. It's an amazing theatre, really. It really is.
There'd be like 15 of us on stage, and we'll be using musicians that we used years ago. Will be coming on, the ones that haven't died. Don't put that in.
It's the chance to tell the story while we can, really. It's something that we won't really get the chance to do again, really. Not on this scale.
It's going to be quite an emotional night then, I think, because all your families are going to be here as well.
I'll be disappointed if there's not a tear or two in the audience.
What do you think it is that you have that's sold records?
Hype.
Yeah, that was the front parlour, which we weren't allowed to go in
until
all
Christmas.
year, and then at Christmas we moved into it. But on that little clip, it's lovely actually, because the rag and bone man is coming down the street, and then as the camera comes down, it passes me dad's Vauxhall Marina car.
And you say in that interview, obviously, that you did with Granada TV, that you used to share your instruments around with the other bands.
We did indeed, yeah. My mum got us the first synthesizer, the first keyboard, off a catalogue.
That actually the Human League were using at the time. Yeah. So it was like you were looking going, And we can get that for $3.99 a week. And you could only play it with one finger, which suited me and Ed because we couldn't play with more than them two.
They had one piece of equipment, we had another, and then it would just be passed around, and so like we'd get it for 3 days, and then they'd get it for 3 days.
Nobody had money to have more than one thing, really, and the whole thing behind that, you know, about being able to share the equipment was definitely because we had girlfriends as well. It was sort of conducive to all our happy relationships that, all right, you can have the gear now for the next three nights.
Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, you can have it.
So what's next then after this gig? You don't want to give up performing, you can tell that you two just absolutely love it.
You know, there's still places I'd like to go to. This year is the first time that we're going to get to Australia and New Zealand.
We first went gold in New Zealand in 1985, and I can remember just thinking, oh, there's more sheep than people there, isn't there? I mean, how many sheep have bought this album? We'll be waxing our boards, won't we? And,
They're loving what they do.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be an awesome gig. Happy anniversary, guys. Now, is the weather something to sing about? Here is Joe with the details.
Now that is brew weather.
And only boiling what she needs.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Big up you, sis.
Thank you very much and good evening to you. Welcome to the weekend. There's going to be a fair amount of cloud around on both Saturday and Sunday and some spells of rain, windy too. But there's been some sunshine around today for the northwest and a cold feel. Temperatures will improve a little bit, at least over the next couple of days, but it will be rather unsettled even into the new week. And as we can see on the chart, we do have that rain moving in through tomorrow, some fairly tightly packed isobars, so gusty conditions. Windy again on Sunday, and after any early rain, there'll be some showers during the course of the day. Next week looking mild but unsettled. Back to this evening, we're still in the cold air, so any showers have the potential to turn to sleet and snow on the tops of the Peak District, the southern uplands and the Pennines, but for the most part, as we go through the night tonight, becoming largely dry, and temperatures will hover just above freezing, perhaps a few icy stretches, something to be aware of, but generally things are becoming a little less cold as we go through into tomorrow, with cloud building ahead of some rain. Tomorrow, the sun will be up at 7:51, setting at 5 o'clock tomorrow evening. Tomorrow, very quickly, cloudy and rather wet conditions will move in across the northwest of England and the Isle of Man. Breezy too, with some strong gusty winds for exposed western coasts. And to all intents and purposes, it's a wet afternoon. Breezy, not feeling particularly pleasant, but in fact milder than today at around 8 or 9 Celsius. Further spells of showery rain as we go through tomorrow night and into Sunday, but brightening up a little bit during Sunday afternoon with a few showers and rather blustery conditions. Next week, it's looking a little milder, but there's not much sun in the forecast. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
2 sugars, please.
Oh, lovely.
And we've just time to say a big congratulations to Berry Market. It's been named Britain's favourite in the Great British Market Awards. Well done also to Warrington's Retail Market, which was named Britain's best large indoor market.
Yeah, congrats. That's just about it for another busy week on Granada Reports.
Thanks for your company this week. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.